everyone. Today I am going to talk about one of the most important topics in our lives, education. When we hear the word education, most people think that about schools, teachers, textbooks, and exams. But actually, education is much more than that. Education shapes our future, our careers, our personalities, and even the way we see the world. For example, the kind of education system we grow up affects how we think. Some systems teach students to memorize information. Other systems teach students how to question, analyze, and solve problems. Education also affects society, a country's economic development, social equality, and cultural values are strongly connected to its education system. That is why studying education systems is so important. In today's presentation, I will mainly focus on the education system in Turkey. First, I will compare Turkey's education system with Ireland, which is often considered successful in education. Second, I will talk about social class differences in Turkey and explain how education opportunities are not always equal. Third, I will discuss multicultural education, which has become increasingly important because of migration and globalization. Fourth, I will explain organizational behavior and why it matters in schools. And finally, I will discuss the psychological effects of the YKS exam, which is a very important issue for Turkish students. So let's begin. Let's start by comparing Turkey and Ireland. At first, these two countries seem very different in terms of culture, size, and history. Turkey has a large population and millions of students. Ireland has a smaller population and a different educational tradition. But both countries believe that education is important. However, the way they approach education is quite different. In Turkey, education is highly centralized. This means most decisions are made by the Ministry of Education. Curriculum, textbooks, exams, everything is mostly decided nationally. This creates standardization. So let's talk about Ireland. Ireland is more flexible. Teachers have more autonomy. They can modify activities and teaching methods depending on the students in front of them. This makes education more personalized. Another important difference is the exams. In Turkey, exams are central. Students prepare for major exams for years. Many students attend school during the day and private courses in the evening. Sometimes students spend most of their teenage years preparing for these tests. This creates a culture where students often ask, will this be on the exam? Because the focus becomes passing the exam, not understand the topic deeply. In Ireland, the focus is different. Students still have exams, but not everything depends on the tests. They also do projects, classroom work, presentations, and group assignments. This creates a more balanced system. Students learn for understanding, not only for the scores. Another difference is classroom culture. In Turkey, classrooms are sometimes more teacher-centered. The teacher talks and students listen. In Ireland, classrooms are more interactive. Students discuss, they ask questions to each other, they share their opinions. This helps build confidence, and confidence matters. A student who learns to express ideas becomes stronger, not academically, but socially too. So, if I summarize, Turkey focuses more on discipline and exams. Ireland focuses more on flexibility and student development. Both have strengths, but I think Turkey could benefit from becoming more student centered. Now, I want to talk about social inequality in education. This is a very important issue. We often say education creates equal opportunity, but does it really? In theory, yes. But in reality, not always. Let's imagine two students. Student A lives in a wealthy family in a big city. They have their own room, a laptop, internet, private tutoring, quiet study place. Now, student B lives in a low-income family, maybe share room with a sibling, has no private tutor, maybe has financial stress at home. But if both students are equally intelligent, are their chances equal? Probably not. This is the problem. In Turkey, private schools create another layer of inequality. Private schools often offer better facilities, smaller classrooms, better language in education, and more activities. Public schools may not have the same opportunities. Then there is the urban-rural gap. A student in Istanbul and a student from a small village may experience very different education. Teacher quality differs, resources differ. Another important factor is family education level. Parents who are educated usually know how to support their children. They know how exams work. They understand university applications. They can guide, but some families cannot. That creates another gap. So education inequality is not only about money. It's also about social and cultural support. That is why governments need equity, not just equality. Giving everyone the same is not enough. Sometimes disadvantaged students need more support. Now let's talk about multicultural education. Today the world is very connected. People move from one country to another. As a result, classrooms are more diverse than before. Students may come from different cultures, different religions, different languages. This diversity can be beautiful, but it also creates challenges. Imagine a child moving to a new country. They don't know the language, they don't know the culture, they may feel lonely. This affects learning. Because students learn best when they feel safe. Countries like Canada often use multicultural policies. Students learn about different cultures, different languages are respected. This helps inclusion. Teachers are very important here. A teacher can either make a student feel included or excluded. Simple things matter. Pronouncing a student's name correctly, respecting traditions, encouraging participation. These things build belonging. And belonging improves success. So multicultural education is not only for immigrant students. It benefits everyone because it teaches empathy, tolerance, global awareness. And those are essential skills today. Now, I want to talk about organizational behavior. At first, This sounds very academic. It means how people work together. Schools are organizations. They have principal, teachers, students, parents, staff. If communication is poor, problems happen. If communication is strong, schools work better. Leadership is especially important. A good principal motivates teachers. A bad principal can create stress. Imagine a teacher with good ideas. If leadership supports them, they innovate. If leadership blocks them, motivation drops. That affects students too. So organizational behavior directly influences learning. Teamwork is also important. Teachers should collaborate, share their ideas, solve their problems together, and schools are the strongest when people work as a team. And lastly, now I want to talk about one of the biggest educational issues in Turkey, the YKS exam. For many students, this exam feels like everything. It decides university admission, and because of that, students often feel huge pressure. Many start preparing years before the exam. Some students study every day, morning to night. They sacrifice hobbies, friendships, their sleep, sometimes even health. This creates stress, and this stress becomes anxiety. Students may experience burnout. Burnout means emotional exhaustion. They feel tired all the time. They stop enjoying the life. They stop enjoying the learning process. And another problem is the fear of failure. Some students believe that if I fail this exam, my life is over, everything is over. But of course, it's not true. But many of the students feel the same way still. And family pressure can make this even worse. Parents usually want the best from their child, but that creates emotional burden. Students may feel, I cannot disappoint my family. So social media can also increase this pressure. Students compare themselves to their friends, like others are studying more, others' scores are higher than me. This comparison increases anxiety either, but there are also some positive effects, of course, like time management, responsibility, and perseverance. So it's not entirely negative. The problem is not assessment itself. The problem is when too much depends on one exam. That is why many educators argue for alternative assessments. More projects, more continuous evaluation, less dependence on one single day, and maybe that we can build a a healthier system. To conclude, education is much more than classrooms and exams. It shapes individuals, it shapes society. Turkey has many strengths in education, but there are also challenges: exam pressure, social inequality, and the need for more flexibility. At the end of the day, a successful education system is not only one that produces high scores, it is one that produces healthy, confident, creative, happy individuals. That was all. Thank you for listening.